Hey everyone, and welcome to Friday Live. My name's Ashley Hay. I'm a mixed media artist, and today, of course, we're going to be looking at the third part in creating a recycled bottle bunny. So if you've missed those first two episodes, you can actually watch them in replay. So I go into creating the sculptural form, and then I show you some tips and tricks for getting some nice texture on your artwork. And then today I'm going to be showing you how to embellish his little face so that you get some gorgeous character into your piece, and then just having a chat to you about some other alternative textures that you can actually do. So it's going to be an exciting episode, so thank you for joining me. And if you have popped in, please just say hello in the chat. I'd love to see who's here with me and just help you with any questions as we go. So yeah. Alrighty, so of course what we are going to be doing is we're going to be playing with some Powercolour pigments, which are beautiful matte pigments available from Powertex Art Supplies, and we're going to be using them with easy varnish, and we're going to give him a little bit of cheeky character in his face and on his brows, and I'm just going to show you how to bring some light and character back into that little face. So that's what we're aiming for. These eyes that have been put onto him here, they're actually little bear eyes. So they're 22 mils and they're just plastic, but they're actually quite nice. But if you wanted, of course, you could make your own with stone art clay as well. Like we did the little nose last week, you can actually make the eyes too. Hey, Robin, lovely that you've joined us. Great that you remembered today. I keep getting your little messages. Oops, forgot it was Friday. So welcome. All right, so let's get cracking. And of course, I need a name for the rabbit. So I keep calling him Roger Rabbit, but that just seems a bit kitsch. So I'll have to think of a little name for him. But all righty, so what we need is we need our titanium white. We need, I've actually got some black Powercolour as well and some grey Powercolour. So I'll just kind of make an intuitive decision about, you know, what I prefer as I go. Now, just to fill you in on what I've done here since last week, because of course last week he was bluish grey, and you can see he's brown now. So what I've done since last week is, as I showed you in the last episode, I used the 3D sand with the bluish grey Powertex, and I actually went over the form so that it reduced the look of the masking tape, and it's given him a much nicer surface. Once that was dry, I actually have then sprayed him with some Vista, and I've just taken the excess off of that. And so when we put the Powercolour on today, maybe a little bit of the Vista might come through, that little brownie tinge. So we'll see what happens as we're working. But the really nice thing is, if you want something really sparkly clear white, you can just allow that first layer to dry and then just go back in and just do a second layer of highlights working back into there. So, hey, Carol, lovely to see you, Ladybird Creative Arts. So great that you could join us today. All right, so I've got just a little piece of alfoil here that I'm going to put my colour on, and then where's my thing? There it is. So I'm looking for my little sculpture tool here. I love this tool. It serves so many purposes. I actually use it to scoop the pigment out as well. So Robin's just saying, what about Rainbow Rabbit? And do him multicolours. Yeah, that would be very cool. But yeah, not sure I'm going to do him multicolours. But I love the idea. It'd be very cool to do a rainbow rabbit. Maybe that's the one that you need to make, Robin. So I've popped a little bit of titanium white out, and I'm going to stick with some grey to start with, and then if I need to, I'll put some black out as well. Alrighty, and my tricking myself, I put the easy varnish over the other side, so it was hiding from me. So of course I'm using the easy varnish with the pigments, and you can also use any binding medium. So if you've got acrylic gloss medium, or you've got easy coat glossy or easy coat matte, you can use those as well. So we're just basically looking for something that is going to bind those pigments and give you a lovely dry brush effect. So we don't want too much goop on our brush so that it's really runny. We just want a really nice steady little bit of goop or varnish or whatever you're using to bind those pigments, and we're just going to pick up a little bit of that and then some of the pigments, and then we're going to splash straight onto his little face. Hey Natalie, lovely to see you. And of course, Natalie from Bag End Studios next week is very exciting for me. I'm going up to Coral Bay for a couple of weeks, which is really, really, really awesome. So I'm so excited about that. And Natalie is going to be picking up the live for the next 2 weeks. So you'll see her next week. She's going to share her art space with you guys so that you can see the new fabulous art space that she has got there, the creative space in Yurongapilly in Queensland, in Brisbane. So you'll definitely have to make sure you're online next week to see that one. All right, so I'm just picking up a little bit of titanium white, and I'm just going to grey it off a little bit with some of the grey. And like I say, I don't want that brush too wet. I'll just see if I can move that into the shot a little bit for you. But you don't really need to see. You've seen this before. Take the excess off. Now, I think I'm going to start here. So you can see that's very, very white. So even though I've greyed it off, it is still quite white. So I'm going to go for a more mid-tone colour first. So if you imagine squinting your eyes at, you know, if you imagine halfway between white and black on your grey scale, I want that sort of mid-tone colour. There we go. Okay. So we've got that mid-tone grey happening now. So it's not so stark, and it's just a little bit nicer. And I'm going to take some onto his little cheeks here as well, so that you can see that. Oops. Note to self, don't put his ear in the way so you can't see. So when I'm putting the colour on, what I want to do is I want to bring the light back into him, and I'm just going to take some of these areas quite blocked in with the grey on this little cheek here, so that it's not looking so textural, it's looking a little bit smoother. Not so brown, so we won't have that brown bit coming through there. So that's looking quite nice. So if you don't want it to look textured in certain areas and you want to create a little bit of a brush mark, then because I want him to look a little bit furry, and so when I do my next layer of colour, I'll make it look more brushy so that he gets that sort of little furry look on his face. So Robin's just saying, what about Regina Rabbit? So it's going to be a girl maybe. I like these suggestions, so keep suggesting. Anyone else that's got ideas? It might be something bunny, or it might be a rabbit, something rabbit. Okay, now when I have a fully loaded brush, what I'm doing is I've got a paper towel next to me, and so I'm just removing a little bit of that excess. And now I'm going to come up onto his little chinny chin, his whisker area here. And of course I can give him some whiskers too. Notice I'm brushing from the edge in so that I'm really catching that edge and coming in to the main area there. So I'm getting a really nice feathered effect, quite a soft effect on there. And give him a little bit of love here on his little bottom lip there. Look at that. He's got a cute bottom lip now. And I don't want to reduce all of this dark area, but if I do overdo it, it doesn't matter because I can always redo it with a little bit more dark, or I can put a bit more bistre in there. So I kind of want it to blend into that little front area a little bit more. So I've got very little on my brush at this point, and I am allowing some of that brown to come through now, and I'm sort of waving that brush over onto my piece so that it's catching a little bit of the texture. Now, once we've got that mid-tone happening, we can then go for a lighter tone. So I quite like the idea of this being quite sort of furry. So I'll talk to you about that later, but I can actually try to see how it looks if this is more white by putting the white on. So we'll take that grey tone onto there as well. So it's still got a little bit of that undertone. All right, now I'm going for that lighter colour. Has anyone started making a rabbit yet? I look forward to seeing the rainbow rabbit, Robin. Have you finished your quirky bird from the other week? All right, so now I've got a lighter tone on there, and I'm going to go over that. Now that's very strong colour that's on my brush, so I've just wiped a little bit of it off. Want a bit more wiped off because I really want it to have really nice softness on there. And then I'm going to take some of the light onto here as well. Yeah, I'm not sure about the light on there. I actually want him to have a little tufty bit on there, so I'll probably do something a little bit different in that area there. And then I want it to have quite nice contrast right on that edge. So then we'll go for the little cheeks. Renee's here. Welcome, Renee. Lovely to see you. So yes, it's very sunny here today. So it's going to be very warm here. 39 today. Can you believe that? So you can see how that's very stark there. So I want to really soften that edge, and I can always go back in with that dark colour again if I take it too light too soon. But I'm kind of liking that. It's got a nice little fluffy feel to it. I can brush around there. See how that's just really softening that off. And now I've got very little on my brush. I can actually brush into some of the other areas. Now, see here, I don't really want it that light there because it's going across an area where it would be shadowed. So that's where I can just get a little bit of bistre and I can paint the bistre back into that little area in there. And I can also take some really strong white contrast onto the top of those little cheek areas. Now, of course, I want to do his little mouth here. You can tell I'm concentrating. I've gone absolutely quiet. So generally, those that know me know that if I'm creating and I'm getting into it, I go suddenly very silent. Who else is like that? Off in creative land. Yep, in the zone, Robin, that's right. So I would just keep playing with that. Now, what you can see is happening here is the bistre is bleeding through that colour a little bit. So it's going from the really lovely white contrast that I'm getting, and the bistre is actually coming through. So if you don't want that to happen, you can actually use a little bit of fixative before you do it. But even once this is dry, that bistre is going to stop coming through and I'll be able to highlight this again. So whatever happens, there is always a solution. But if you are finding that that bistre just keeps bleeding through and the colour isn't precisely how you like it, then that's just a little tip. You can actually fix it and then work back into it. Thank you. Carol's just saying I'm doing a lovely job on his little face. Now, just while I have got you, I've got some bistre in a spray bottle. I'm not going to spray it on him. I'm just going to spray a little bit onto my... That's hilarious. I'm very organised today, but I've got no water for my brush. Hilarious. So see how I can paint back into there with a little bit of bistre as well if I want to. And I can just soften that off. It's okay, I'll just make do. I'll have brown bistre in my brush now, but never mind. So there we go. So you can see how I can go in there, or I can use a little bit of that dark grey colour as well. A little bit of black. I can go back into here and actually take some shadow area back in if it gets too sort of light. And then I can, of course, take my colour back over the top of that once it's dry, so he gets that little furry look again about him. So it's just playing until you get it right, and you sort of, he's talking to you and he's going, oh, I'm liking what's happening in here. Now, before I do anything more, I might turn him this way so we can do this eye on this side. But what I'm going to do is I am going to take it very dark in here where I'm going to put his little eyeball. But before I do that, I'll just quickly take a little bit more of the bluish of the grey. So I'm using the grey Powercolour and the white, titanium white. Oh, he's so gorgeous. Don't you just love it when your pieces start to get a bit of character and they start to talk to you? I'm really liking this grey because the brown's coming through it quite nicely. I'm going to take his, knock his little cheek here back again. And I can always take a highlight back onto it. So I'm just going to knock it back a little bit so that there's slightly darker tone underneath again. Got a bit carried away there for a minute. Me get carried away? Never. Exactly, Robin. So Robin's just saying it's not so much about getting it right, but it's about getting it the way that you like it. And this is very much a creative decision. And as you're working, like I say, they'll start to go, oh, I'm liking that colour. So whether it's you or whether it's the sculpture that's saying that, I think it's a bit of both. So your muse definitely will start to talk to you and let you know if he wants a bit more colour, wants a bit more plainness, whatever it is. But you can see how beautifully that's coming up, and so I would just keep playing with highlighting with my mid-tones, and if I really get carried away, I can just spray it again and start again. So it is just so much fun. You will love this part of the process because this is where you really bring the character out, and you can really be very, very playful with the colours. Like Robin said, you can actually even make it a rainbow rabbit. So all right, so before I do this little eye here and we actually put the eyes in, I just want to make sure I've got the brows done, because you don't want to be putting the eyes in and then repainting a little bit of a highlight on the brows, because you might get it on your little eyes there. Give him a little bit of highlight through there. He's going, oh, I like that, Ashley. And then again, if you've gone too stark, you can actually just soften it up with a little bit of the light. And now you can see here how sometimes subtle is really, really, really nice. So you can go as highly contrasting as you like, or you can keep it very, very subtle with your colouring. So either way, it will end up looking absolutely gorgeous. Now that I've got that done, I can take a little bit more strength just on this little bit here. Ooh, a bit carried away there. tone that back with a little bit of the grey. See how that subtle colour is actually quite nice, and you've still got some of that brown area coming through. So it's totally up to you how, much you actually go for that tone. But see how that's really giving him a nice little bit of furry texture, just sweeping that very dry brush across some of that. Okay, and we'll just give it a little bit more contrast in there. I can, like I say, I can always knock it back if it's too much. Alrighty, or I can actually give him a little bit more light in there too if I feel like it needs a little bit more light happening. He's so gorgeous. Bertram Bunny, and give him a monocle. Oh, cool. Full of ideas today, Robin. Love it. Yes. Now, see how that was all very subtle, and then I've just put a little pop of colour on there, and it's really working nicely. So it's not too much. It's just really given a lovely highlight. So once you do get that right and you go, oh, I like that, leave it. Says she, fiddling with it again. All right, so I would just keep playing with that. Let me show you popping the eyes in now. So I am just going to get a little bit of the black Powercolour, and I'm going to paint it dark in underneath those brows. Have got white on my brush, but never mind. So what I'm going to do is just really give it a really good shaded look in under here. So it's nice and dark and shaded underneath that brow. Oops. Nothing like popping the eye in the camera zone. Just got to move him back a bit for a second. So you can see what I'm doing in here. I'm really creating a little bit of depth in there, and then of course when I bring that fuzzy colour back onto there, it will actually, he'll look like he's got lovely, lovely furry skin tones. All right, lovely, so exciting. I can give him just a little bit of shadow under his nose there, which has given it a little bit more dimension, but you can see I just need to fix this area up in here too. And so I would keep working on it until I'm completely happy. And same with his little feet and his little paws, I'll brush up into there, some of here, some of his body, of course, some light onto some of his ears, until I'm happy with how he looks overall. So now, of course, the piece de resistance, where did I put them? They're hiding. Is the little bear eyes. So once you have finished painting and you're ready, you can actually get your little bear eyes, and you can pop a little bit of stone art clay on here and pop them on. So what I have already done is I have actually skewered into his little head, which, if you remember, just has some alfoil and styrofoam ball there. So I've already done that. I've given it a good pierce. And then I will put some stone art on and pop his little eyes into place. Got a couple of holes on this one. Yep, it's definitely the lower one. There we go. Look at that. So we have his a little eye in there with his lovely little face happening, and suddenly, look at that, hasn't he got some gorgeous character? So once he has been finished painted, once I've finished painting him, he will look absolutely gorgeous, and he's already got a little bit of character about him, and of course that will just be accentuated. And like Robin has alluded to, of course, you can actually add character by giving them glasses, giving them bow ties, whatever you feel you would like to add to make him have a bit more character, maybe a top hat, which of course you'd have to do before this stage. You'd have to make sure his hat is in there and he's looking lovely. But you could do all sorts of things. He could be a sun bunny out to a day on the beach with a towel around him, ready for a day in the sun with a floppy sun hat. So, or if you're in the snow, maybe he's a snow bunny. So have some fun with this. The recycled bottle art is absolutely wonderful, so much fun to play with, and I'm sure while Natalie's on in the next 2 weeks, she can show you a couple of her amazing pieces that she has actually done. So she has done the most incredible Alice in Wonderland white rabbit on I think, was it a dimple bottle, Natalie? Anyway, let us know. We'd love to see that one. And we're looking forward to seeing your studio next week there in Yeringa-Pilly. And I am looking forward to a couple of weeks lying around on a beach and still being in contact. And I am planning a lot of painting as well, so while I'm away. So very, very excited to be swimming with turtles. Yes, and a shout out to Christy, because of course she is has done the original rabbit that I showed you. I did that in a class with her. So yes, but it's all about your embellishing, all about your finishes, all about your creative ideas, playing to your heart's content, and really having some fun with this. So go for it, enjoy. And Natalie's just saying the March hare, and it was the March hare, not just tea at the tea party. So look forward to seeing that, Natalie. Hopefully you can share it while you're on. Okay, everyone, have a wonderful creative week. And of course, if you are here in Safety Bay, as mentioned in last week's episode, Christy is coming back to the Powertex studio, and she is going to do a bottle bunny with us here on the 2nd of April. So if you're able to get along to that one, it will be sure to be a lot of fun. Okay, everyone, ciao. Have a wonderful creative weekend. Enjoy. Bye.